morning folks, and welcome to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join myself, Mrs H and little Toby on our own meeting today. We're in Haigh Woodland Park, which is of course in Wigan. And we've come today for a little bit of a walk round and to take a look at a controversy that's been raging here in Haigh Hall for a number of years. And it surrounds these gates here at the back of me. Now originally Haigh Hall was owned by Lord Crawford. And Lord Crawford by the 70s was in a lot of debt. So what he did, he gifted the grounds and the hall to the people of Wigan, or Wigan Council, with the proviso that Wigan people could forever come in Haigh Hall and around here in the woodlands. And that cleared his debts. He believed he sold it for £1. All this for £1, Mrs H. Now, by the 2000s, the cost for Haigh Hall was great to Wigan Council, and they was looking for a way of offsetting that cost. So somebody in the council chambers came up with the bright idea of leasing Haigh Hall out to a private company, and what they would do, they would put functions on and things like that, and they would run it as a business as opposed to a non-profit type of thing. And that way they would repair Haigh Hall, so we're going to get Haigh Hall done for nothing, and the people of Wigan would still be able to enjoy the hall. But it's not worked out that way, because what the company did, they placed some gates here, and they decided they would shut off Haigh Hall when events was on, and they would send the public down this path here, which it doesn't quite work out that way because the path isn't that good. It's sort of been done as an afterthought. And what a lot of people have been complaining is it's not wheelchair accessible, and it's no good for people with prams, you know, young parents like ourselves, Mrs H. So what we're going to do, Hot Potters, we're going to make our way now down that path, and we're going to see just how easy it is to traverse or descend in our case. Now we're coming in from the way most people would come in. They would park the cars up on the car park, where they'd have to pay and display. I think at one time it was really cheap, wasn't it, Mrs H? But it's shot up now, that, and they've blocked off all the little places where you can park for nothing. We've still managed to do it though, because we've parked on an estate way down there, because we don't mind using Shank's Pony. But most people will park up on the car park and they would enter Haigh Hall from this way. Now in fairness, and I'm going to point this out before anybody else does, they have sort of reneged a little bit, and they've made it as you can get round the gates now though. That's one thing a lot of people don't show you, but that was done as an afterthought. We'll take a little closer look at that, and then we'll make our way down and see how good this path so-called is. The sign does sort of lead you to believe that's the way you have to go if you don't know any different. So let's take a little look at this cutout now that they've done round here, Mrs H. So this is the makeshift access that they've made round these gates when they're locked. And I'll prove that you can easily enter and go around them, although it does put you in mind of an afterthought, because it's not been thermocadoned. It just looks like they've cut this fence back here and just moved the post that way. But you can get round easily, and I'll prove it to you now. And there you go, you know, you can make your way down, and there's the back of Haigh Hall in the distance. Now I'll be honest, I think if they'd done a proper job at that, if they'd have done that in the first place, Wigan Council, and I think, is it the Friends of Haigh Hall, is that the name of the group? I think they would have not bothered, they wouldn't have complained, but as it stands, they've complained about this work that they've done down here that we're going to take a look at. So, without further ado, let's try it, Mrs H. We don't know what we're going to come up against, because we haven't been on this path before. I've not been in here for years, have we really, Mrs H?
No, last time I came I brought some school kids.
Yeah, and we used to do a lot of courting here long before Contessa, I think they're called, took this over. So, enough waffling, let's see how bad this path actually is. Come on, Toby, I've got distracted. So, we're at the beginning of the alternative route around Haigh Hall, should there be an event on. So we're going to pretend there is an event on, there's a wedding over there, so we've got to make our way around it using this alternative route. It's a bit of a cinder path, and the idea is it cuts through the woods here. As I say, it's been said that it's not very wheelchair accessible or good for people with prams. One thing you need to bear in mind with our pram, Mrs H purchased this with going up hills and all the types of things that we do hot potting in mind. Normally a pram's a pram. I'll be honest, I didn't know there were different types of prams. It was Mrs H that did all her homework on it. So this has blow-up wheels and it's like the Tiger tank of prams. But other prams are available and they're probably not very good. Now we're going uphill a bit here. And as people know, my son's a big lad. He takes after his dad. So it's a bit hard going up this way. But apparently there's a big drop on the other side, isn't there, Mrs A?
There is. What people have said.
So yeah, I think if you was coming up there and you was in a wheelchair, unless you're one of these Olympic wheelchair people who can spin it round, your knee down's like a Ben Hur. But just looking at it, it looks like it's been an afterthought, doesn't it? They've just cut the way through the trees. I think there was a path through here originally.
They were all mud though before.
Yeah. So it's a bit better in that respect. And here's that hill I'm having to really pull back. You wouldn't want to lose your footing though, would you? But straight down.
Yeah. And if you did want to get to the hall from this angle,
you've got to go down them steps where that fella's going. So again, you're being penalised if you've got a pushchair, or you know you're disabled and you're in a wheelchair.
Because they then go onto that lower path at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is easier to walk on, I think, than this. This is quite a steep slope and slippy because of these stupid little stones.
Yeah. We don't like these sort of stones, do we?
No. Your feet always seem to go from under you.
Well, like I said, I can understand why they want to close it off when there's functions on. And as I say, if they'd have done that, what they've done now up there, they'd have done it in the first place, I don't think there'd have been any complaining. There'd have been no need for any of this. Yeah, I wouldn't like to think I was coming up the other way with him.
You can see where people have skidded.
Yeah, yeah, you can.
And it's a fair drop, that.
I mean, can you imagine it in icy weather?
Yeah.
You know, today's a nice day and the sun's shining. Well, yeah, it's doable. I mean, anything's doable, isn't it, if you intend doing it, but what would it have taken to have just made this a little bit easier? It's as though they just thought to themselves, right, well, we can't shut it off completely. Or they did shut it off, didn't they, originally?
Yeah.
And then they complained, so they put this in. That was the idea. Because as I said, Lord Crawford always said, as the people of Wigan should be able to enjoy the grounds and the hall, which is quite impressive. I mean, you remember that time we came here and they put that thing on Wigan Council, that comedy night?
Oh yeah, the Basil Fawlty Towers.
It was like a dinner show, wasn't it? I did one in one of my videos previously, and this was the first one we came to. I think it's been used as a filming location as well. Was it Foyle's War?
Yeah.
Although I don't think they'll be using it again now. I mean, you know, you didn't have them in 1940, did you? All markings on the road.
Nah, but they can airbrush it out.
I mean, it's very easy to criticise, in honesty. You know, you could sit here and say they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. The fact of the matter was, Haigh Hall was costing Wigan taxpayer a lot of money. And with cutbacks as they was making, you know, once Tories come in, Cameron and Clegg, and they did the first coalition government, and they made loads of cutbacks. They pushed it onto council, so they had to make savings somewhere, and I think that's why these private guys have come in. That's bad as well, isn't it?
It is, because it goes lumpy as well there.
I think that's where originally its path fell away, and they've just, again, it's just been done ad hoc and quick. You've got to remember, if somebody does fall, they're going to put a claim in, aren't they?
Yeah.
And who do you claim off then? Is it Wigan Council, or is it these guys now as the
Who
tenants?
did the path?
No, the tenants, aren't they?
But who did the path?
Well, yeah, I don't know who did it originally. Now just pan back there, so you can see how steeply that rises. Now I wouldn't like to think I was trying to push a wheelchair up there. Or, you know, the person in their own wheelchair, you know, pushing it up. It must be difficult.
It's not accessible, it's not flat either, it's a bit lumpy.
As we said, where those steps, I mean, we're not going to make our way back there, but those steps are pretty difficult to get up. So, if you did want to go round the hall, you know, using the alternate route, you'd have had to go up there and come back on yourself.
Yeah.
But they've done the right thing now. They've made it as there's a pedestrian opening at the side, and that's how it should have always been done. I think it would have been nice had they put a bit of tarmac on it instead of just throwing this stuff down. Maybe they will. Maybe they will eventually. There's been enough pressure put on them. But they was always going to try it on, I think, Mrs H, to sort of shut this part off and just have it for the hotel. I mean, you've got to remember, these people are investing money in it. You know, so they want some return, don't they, on the money? They're not doing it because they like it. As lovely as Haigh Hall is, grade 2 listed building. There's plenty more you could put you. There you go, Mrs H has just slipped. Hot potters. That proves our point nicely, doesn't it? As even as an able-bodied person, it's not the right way to go, I think. It's a shame, really, because they've cut woods down to make this path.
Yeah, destroying it.
When they could have just done that, just cut what? That much of fencing down, and they could have done it.
You join here as well, Toby.
You know. It's one of these now, what, Potters? Toby's always going to be sort of on camera on these, giving his thoughts. What do you think it's like, Toby? Because you're sat in pram, lad.
Don't mind. Got some good suspension on that thing.
Yeah, like I said, this is the Tiger tank of prams. Now, Haigh Hall's been used by Wiganers as a wedding venue for years, hasn't it?
It has.
You know, it wasn't somewhere we considered, to be honest, but...
It was suggested because we did all our courting here, but it was a bit shabby, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why it needed investment. But the idea that they put in, you know, well, we don't want people walking around because they're getting to shot, you know, and that. People do respect it. I mean, you know, if I see a wedding going on at a church, I don't run over and photobomb it. You know, you don't, do you? You keep out of way to respect.
Don't lie, Mr H, you're always doing that.
But, you know, so I think it was just an excuse, really, for try and close that bit off. Had they got away with that, then, you know, they would have pushed it a bit further, wouldn't they?
They would.
That's the bottom path there. That one leads to right up at the side of the roadway, because that's used as vehicle access now. Way back when, hardly any vehicles went up it.
But people still walk up the roadway.
Well, that's what you've always done, you know, that's what you've always done. And
so have they stopped all the big concerts and stuff that they used to have?
Yeah, I mean...
And the bonfire?
That's, I don't know about the bonfire, I think they do that somewhere else now. But certainly the concerts, I remember coming to these, and in front of the hall there, they'd set up a big stage, wouldn't they, big sound stage, and, you know, when the first one started off, you could just come up here, and plonk yourself down, you know, bring your own beer up. If you could carry it through Haigh Hall, bring as much as you could carry, and away you went. And then, as time went on, they started fencing it off and making it you had to buy your beer in Hall. And fair enough, again, somebody had to pay for the clearing up of it and everything else, but I think once somebody tries to make a bit of a profit out of it, it ends, doesn't it? The fun of it ends and people stop going, and that's what happened with that. There again, you see somebody's made their own path from the bottom one up to this. That's not official. That's what a lot of paths are like here, aren't they?
There always have been, though, haven't there?
They have.
Mainly because they didn't maintain the official paths. If you remember, they always used to have the red, yellow, green paths. Yeah. But you could never tell which one was which because they'd faded.
Yeah, or they'd suddenly change colour halfway.
They've started doing that again. There is orienteering points.
Well, it's good that there's been investment made, I think, in it. You know, I think the friends of Wigan, over that incident up there with the gate, they even went and got Lord Crawford involved, wherever he's living now, and he's in his 90s, and fair enough, he's still got everything, all his marbles and everything, and he said, no, I said the people of Wigan could use it. So I don't know, it's one I'm torn with, really, because although it's become like this now, I think it's lost something. You know, we used to come up here and have little barbecues and that, didn't we, Mrs. H?
We did. By the flowers.
Yeah. But it's nice to see it being used, isn't it, really?
It is.
But yeah, that's the controversy over them gates. And they've solved it by just putting that little cut in there, which they should have done anyway. So we're now coming to the end of the alternative route. Just behind Mrs H there is the other gates, which there's no gates on it as such. Gate posts. And that cuts out that roadway that we was on up there, Haigh Hall's, just behind us there. Now I don't know, what do you think of that, Mrs H? Do you think that that was as a path, really, your honest view of it? Bearing in mind, as I say, you know, this pram's built for going over rough terrain.
I mean, it's not too bad for a woodland path.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But being at Haigh, if you've got little ones that are running around, it's not just the pram side of it, it's the little ones. They'll get too close to that edge. You'll spend the entire time pulling them back. And
bearing in mind that they wanted that as an alternate route, you know, if that was just a woodland path and somebody, that was your choice. When they've closed it off up there, if you want to get to this end, you had no choice but to use this path. Yeah. So I think it should have been more substantial if they was wanting people to use it.
Also, coming in this direction's alright, it's downhill.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back that way.
I don't. And again, we've got the duplicate of that sign that I showed you up at the top. Now that's sort of indicating that that's the way to go. You need to go there. And by putting little posts there, little gate posts, if you want to call them gate posts, it's subtly giving you the impression that that's off limits.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I think it should also be signposted that, I mean, you can't say as it's wheelchair access, but this would avoid the steps. There is a map though, but how many of us read them? How many of us go over to them?
It also doesn't make any sense, that map.
No, it doesn't, because there's a path on it now that has been added since.
Yeah.
So it confuses you a bit. But yeah, again, that's the lower path, you know, if you wanted to go on that, but you would have steps when you get near the hall, so I think they could have done it better if they were going to do it, Mrs H. Again, you know, it's been a bit of an argument and a storm over a teacup, really. They didn't want to put an access and allow you round it, so they went to all this trouble, which is typical, really, to prove a point. And they've ended up doing what they should have done anyway. Well, folks, that's it. Make your own mind up. As I said, we've come down it this way, so it's been a bit easier. I wouldn't like to think I was pushing Toby up there. Anyway, we're going to get off now to the car, aren't we, Mrs H?
Yeah.
We want to get little Toby back, and we'll probably give him a feed. He's out here, he really enjoys it, doesn't he, being out in the fresh air?
Yeah.
So folks, until the next time, from little Toby who's asleep, myself, Mr H, and Mrs H is always behind the camera, it is